Marisa Kiley joins us this morning on the morning show, coming down from Texas and bouncing back and forth, coming to see your family from Chicago, mutual connections there. We're going to really dive deep into her consulting, her education side of things. Let me go ahead and mute this real quick, folks. It's going to be a banger, folks. We're going to dive into the consulting side of things, her education space, and how we're helping her reach financial freedom, get rid of the stresses of life, and achieve our goals. Enjoy the show, folks. It's going to be a good one. Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Talk to Taryn Morning Show, where we go over tips, tricks, ideas, and exercises to help make you the absolute best person you can be, not only for yourself, but for the people you love and care about most. Everyone, welcome my new friend, Marisa, on the show. Good morning. Where are you calling in from today?
Well, currently I'm sitting in Dallas, where I will not share the weather because it's just not fair to anybody in Illinois or the Midwest in general. So I'm happy to say it's a little warmer than Illinois.
A little warmer, yes. This is it's been a weird winter for us so far. We've I'm sure with you talking to family and stuff, we had a bunch of hail yesterday, and it was like 70 degrees, and it was I mean, I'm not gonna hate on the little bit of the warmer weather, but it's definitely not Texas. Is that why'd you move down to Texas?
Oh, for multiple reasons. My health is one of them. And also for several reasons. My life partner, business partner was located here. And so we decided that Dallas was better for us in the future than Illinois. And I was okay with that. I love the Midwest. I love Chicago, especially downtown. I spent many years working and playing in downtown Chicago, but the weather here is a lot calmer and it's a little bit more opened up. And for sports, my sons are both baseball players. And so the sports teams down here gave them an advantage as they grow up for college. And then they both want to be professional players, which I'm not going to squash those dreams whatsoever. I'm going to support those dreams as much as I can.
That's incredible. It does seem that the sports world is a whole nother beast down in Texas, whether it's
Yes.
One of my friends, he left our football team here to go down to Texas for opportunities, scouts, and it seems that the opportunities are pretty wide open down there. Are you in the city area for Dallas, or how's Dallas even really structured? Is it like city like Chicago, or a bunch of suburbs, or how's that work?
It is. It's both. But for this area, a little bit north of Dallas is one of the fastest growing, if not the fastest growing, I can't remember, areas in the country. We're literally adjacent to Frisco, Texas, which Frisco, the public schools are just absolutely amazing. The area itself is, like I said, for many years been voted the number one place to raise families, kind of like Naperville, Illinois. I know there's cities that are just really great for family, and this area lives up to its reputation for sure. It's just a great area. One of the things I really personally enjoy as a mom is the fact that it's a very friendly area. And even my children have made that comment, that they notice that families are out together and that it's very normal for families to hang out and to interact and to spend a Sunday going to the park together and then going out to dinner. So it's just a very calm, very stress-free area compared to the pace of Chicago. I will tell you, it's a very calm environment, and I do love it down here. I do love Chicago. Like I said, I'm never going to bash Chicago. I just wish we had less chances of blizzards. Then I think it would be perfect.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. It's when I was living there, it's still Illinois, so just a lot of gray days compared, I'm sure, to the sunshine and the nice stuff that you guys get down in Dallas. You mind talking a bit about working with you said you're in business and with your partner. How does
Mhm.
that relationship go? A lot of people say that it doesn't work to mix your relationships and work. Some people I see there is absolutely no limits to it because you're immersed in it even more and have support. So what's been your experience with that?
Well, this could go down the personal relationship route and also the business route conversation. We met in school for an entrepreneurial MBA program. So we were both focused on our entrepreneurial journey already. He already had almost 20 years experience as an entrepreneur, as I did as well. So between the two of us having almost 40 years experience of entrepreneurialism, plus when we met, we were both building new businesses. And so it was a very easy transition for us. And in fact, we spent our time as friends, accountability partners, and working together first. And then our relationship came from that. And so it was really interesting. It was, I always tease him and tell him, it's interesting. Our conversation about dating was, I mean, basically not a conversation. It just felt right. Everything worked. And it was like we had always known each other. We had more of a conversation where it was sit down at a table to map everything out about forming one business versus our individual businesses. And I laughed at the time. I told him, I said, we didn't even talk this on this deep of a level when we decided to start dating. And so we really were very careful and we set up boundaries and also the rules of this is the things that I'm going to be in charge of. Here's his role. And we're very good about consulting with each other. We keep each other in the loop. We meet together all the time, obviously, too. But I feel the strength of our relationship is the fact that we went through a program that's designed for self-improvement. And we did it individually, okay? And by chance, we were both going to the same event, different months. We had a chance to go back to it. And we've used that as a baseline for our relationship and also our business. We're very careful too that we only work with people that align with our values and our views of making a world impact, that building businesses is not just about the financial aspect. Obviously, the financial aspect fuels our impact on the world. However, that's the place for it, that it's to support our families, to create wealth for our children, and also to create wealth for the world. It has to be within those parameters for us to work with somebody. So even our team has to align to that. So we're very, very careful about that. And I believe that working together and living together and being married, things like that, do work when you have a quality relationship. So I'm going to be the one in the latter category and tell you it does work, but it does take work to make it work. It does take a lot of planning and a lot of conversation. And we've actually joked about it that, like, when we're out to dinner on a random night when we get a date night, we have a rule that we don't actually pick up our phones ever during dinner. If we're at home or out, we don't bring our phones to the table. And he's looked around at the restaurant and noticed we might be the only couple without our phones in our hand. And so we always talk about things. And he laughed one day and said, we've yet to run out of a conversation. We've never run out of something to discuss, something to talk about, something to build on. So I do believe it is possible, but it does take a different level of commitment when it comes to working together and living together, for sure.
That's great. You talked about you guys met in entrepreneurial school. Do you recommend college? Did it teach you much about business? Are you glad you did the program?
So it's very interesting that you ask in that manner, because that led us to what we built for our company. I saw a lack in education. I am very grateful that I'm a third generation entrepreneur. And I'm also an only child and 20 years of being an entrepreneur. And also I was a single mom for most of that time period. So I have a little independence in my back pocket for sure. And I have the ability to figure things out. And I went into this entrepreneurial MBA program with my background and also very much of an attitude that I can stumble around, figure things out. if it doesn't present itself. And with this program, it really stuck to the subjects of how to do different things online to add to either your existing business or to build a new one. But at the same time, it never talked about how to build the company. And so I feel, and I've done a lot of research, and over the last several years, I can tell you without a doubt that even in a university setting, there isn't really an entrepreneurial program. There's one that I found, but it talks only in theory. So the actual how to build is missing in education as a whole. And that is what I believe a lot of people need. I believe that it's the difference between, for me at least, how I explain it is the difference between learning algebra and geometry. Please don't make me do algebra again in my life. Please, just please don't. Geometry, it made sense the first time I saw it, but algebra, I had to work at it to get through it. And I believe that's kind of the difference between the traditional learning system right now and how people need to visualize it in order to build something accurately and with less mistakes and less stress and things like that. So to answer your question, I'm not against college whatsoever. I do believe for certain industries, like I used the example the other day in content, that if you want to do something like brain surgery, okay, being silly, but yes, there are certain fields that you absolutely, if you have a calling for it, please pursue it. And we need those things. But when it comes to the entrepreneurial side, it just is something that doesn't exist right now. So you can find services, you can find coaches, but the actual middle ground of the actual practical building part is really difficult to find.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I'm really grateful I went through college and graduate school and all that fancy stuff, but it really didn't teach me much about, like you're saying, the structure of business, networking, making money, transaction processing, like tax time, all this stuff. I was pretty surprised. I'm sure you as well. What's some of the building blocks that you like to focus on and teach your students when it comes to building a business? What's kind of the stuff that you start with people?
Sure. Where we start out is very basic. And I'm very grateful. We talk a little bit about mindset, but I intentionally, within our platform, we didn't go straight into mindset because, again, it would easily fall into coaching. And that's not where we wanted to go. So we talk about the importance of being in control of your calendar and really planning things out over the 6-month period that you're going to participate in the education, scheduling everything in, getting dialed into the system, getting into our membership where there is additional coaching, where there's mindset, things like that, resources. But for the actual program, we start with the basics of literally how do you set up a Google email that won't say Gmail anymore? Because a lot of people don't know that that can actually influence your investors and banking things later on that a lot of entrepreneurs are not they're not informed about. So we start with some things that seem very basic at the moment, but everything builds upon it about why you need to talk to your accountant, why you need to talk to a lawyer, why do you need to have a business account. And then we really start, it's almost like stair steps that we build upon. So every week the program works from classroom with a dedicated coach that's actually relevant to that subject, that has education in that subject. And then they have implementation, rinse and repeat. So it goes that way for 6 months through all of the subjects. So it crescendos through visibility, branding, all of digital marketing, software, everything you need to know online, plus real life practical things about building your business. But then it crescendos into a really big section about authority building and sales at the very end. So our point is with this program is to not just tell you what a business strategy is, but help you build it and the company at the same time. So in 6 months, your company is visible, launched, and also without holes in the foundation.
Why'd you guys come up with a 6-month structure? I see 6 weeks or 30 days or 2 years or Why'd you guys pick 6 months?
Well, believe it or not, we have tested out this program for almost 3 years now. So we started out right from the beginning with creating the program that's inside of the mentorship to partnership education system is what we used to help companies launch. So we vetted it out. We can tell you that instead of spending your normal 18 to 24 months that it takes to get visibility, to really get things built out, we can cut that down into 6 months because, again, you have all of these educators that have real life experience. For example, in the sales section, I have 20 years plus experience in sales. However, the gentleman that coaches that section, he's built the sales teams for Fortune 500 companies. I'm humble enough to accept that I might be able to structure it and I got the right team together, but I have to be humble and accept the fact there's always going to be somebody that has more knowledge and experience than us. And it's very smart of us as entrepreneurs to be humble and accept the help that we're given and also to be presented with experts. It's a huge gift. So we're doing it in a way that serves the students, not my ego at all. And that's why we did it that way. So it's very interesting because, again, it's very different. And to your point, the 6 month mark is what we have found that we can accomplish when there's guidance for entrepreneurs. And then we went through a whole testing period where people walked through the program in a beta testing period. And we received 100% rave reviews from the program.
Okay. Yeah. The feedback has got to be key. So for example, I'm a one-man team right now, and sometimes it feels like quite a bit. And as my business grows, I hope to get some coaches and stuff. What advice would you have for me to find coaches who can coach the clients that I bring in to find these A players that you're talking about?
Well, it's a combination of my network, for sure. I'm very, very grateful for the network I've curated to this point. But what I would always start with and suggest for anybody that is in process of building, so you're a great example, it would require us to talk about what's missing. That's always my first question. Even when we're building something or when we're trying something out that's new, my question to the team always will be, what have I missed? What have we missed? So I'm always looking for the hole in the system, if you will. And so that's always my first question. And if an entrepreneur is struggling, again, solo entrepreneurialism is very tough. I've been there myself many times. And it's almost like you keep working, and you're like, this is never going to end. And you have big dreams and big goals, and everybody knows you're going to get there, but you have to remember you're going to get there. And it's a really difficult period to be in. I compliment you because I've been there. I know what it feels like. But at the same time, we've never had a better opportunity or a time to build a business than now. Between automation, between software, and I will pause right there. A lot of entrepreneurs are even very much unaware, uneducated to the advantages of like a CRM, a customer software that you can track everything. I believe that's something that everyone should learn from day one. And that's part of our program from day one, that you receive that as a part of our package. So there's a lot of things that are out there that we may just not be aware of that may hold the key to speeding up the process. You could either sit there and try out all of them or get an expert opinion. Expert opinions, generally speaking, cost money. And the thing that I advise a lot of young entrepreneurs, young as in their walk and their path, not age-wise, I always advise them to do is first to sit down, again, like I said, really assess what's missing. And then the second question I always advise everybody to ask is, am I having an issue within a system or within my industry? And this is a part of what we've been teaching for years. And it's actually going to be the subject of a bigger project coming out very soon that we teach a 4-pillar approach. that a lot of people confuse. I did too with my last business 15 years ago. I can tell you I had a real frustration moment because of I was an expert within an industry, not an expert in business. So that's two of the pillars that we need to build. Well, the other one is modern technology to support us and also personal growth. So I believe it takes all four pillars in order to build a business. And unfortunately, there's only so many hours in the day. So it's always a struggle. I will totally acknowledge that. I have the same struggle too, even now. I woke up yesterday was a perfect example, and I couldn't believe it was 4:30, and half of my list wasn't done. It is the reality, and we have to be flexible, but it's a consistent effort every single day. But if you work within all four of those pillars, you're going to build a foundation, and it's going to be more equal as you go forward.
Yeah. This asking about sales, I think sales can be very scary for a lot of folks, and I'm definitely getting a lot better at it over the last year, but it used to make me feel personally attacked when people would just be saying no. And I understand not everyone's ready to do this service, or not everyone wants help with their social media, yada, yada. Exactly. But yeah, it was really, it was kicking my ass for a long time. And, but what's your philosophy on sales, kind of your approach, and just some general advice that you would have on the topic?
Sure. Well, fortunately, I have a very long history in sales. As early as 2000, 2001, I was working downtown Chicago, a part of a tech team, and I was the only girl on the team. And so it was a bunch of Ivy League boys and myself. And it was quite interesting. In fact, it got to the point that our project manager, requested that I do a ride along with anybody that they were interviewing to see how they worked in the field. And it was quite interesting because sometimes I'd walk in and just look at them and I'm like, they had no, the word I could think is gumption. I don't know where the right word would be right now. That's such an old word, but it's true that, to actually put themselves out there and try. That was what I always look for, was their spirit of willingness at the moment. And if you have the spirit of willingness when it comes to sales, you can learn. But you have to be tough, and you have to be able to take rejection. And my trick that I learned back then, and I still use it today, is that sales is just a number game. So for every no that you get, you're closer to a yes. So if it's very difficult, a very simple trick just to start with is grab a Post-it note and start checking it off. And if you know your close rate, you can say, okay, if I get through 3 more no's, I'm closer to a yes. Just take the emotion out of it completely. Emotionally connect with each person, be there, be present. But the actual rejection is not personal. And if we can get it to that point, I believe that it's a lot easier. It's not perfect because there's a lot of other steps involved, but just the mindset part of knowing that it's kind of like equal to dating. Okay. If the first person we found attractive said yes and we got married, well, it'd be pretty easy. Doesn't work that way. We have to be a little tough, and we have to keep going through the motions, watch this person and say, okay, does their words equal their promises? And do I really have a conversation to have with them after first date? All those things are important, right? It's part of the sales process too. We're doing the exact same thing. So it isn't going to happen the first time. Maybe the second person says no, third person. That's okay, because every time you get through a no, you're closer to a yes.
Do you guys just send direct messages on social media? Do you just call people? Do you have virtual assistants, or how do you guys, what's kind of like your guys' sales mechanism?
Sure. Well, we have several. And again, this is because this is what we teach. So I would hope that we have the right tools in place. We have a lead gen team that we have just started specifically for this program. I do a lot of networking, a lot of it. I've built my first business all through networking, through word of mouth, referrals, and social media. And I'm talking about many years ago at the beginning of Instagram. I jumped in right away as a very early adopter and adapter and decided, well, if there's 20 people in my area competing and none of them are on here, I got to try. And it was actually very successful. And I obviously didn't know what I was doing, didn't know what an algorithm was back then, but figured it out. So we applied a lot of those things again to this business as well. So we rely heavily on networking. We also do email campaigns. We have a lead gen team. We are just vetting out a new VA that will be dedicated to doing DMs. But one of the things that I believe in most above everything is digital real estate. And our team, for example, just our C-suite team, dedicates time every week to our own personal branding. This is mandatory for us. We can, between our team, reach, I apologize, I can't remember if it's 38 or 40,000 organically now without any paid advertising. And this is something that we work at every single week. We also are very aligned with everybody working on their personal brand, and we support each other. And I believe that personal branding, I've been saying this for a long time, and I'm now seeing that my prediction was absolutely right, that personal branding transcends business branding. And what I mean by that is, if you go on, for example, TikTok, a lot of car companies were jumping on there and selling their cars. I saw one last night, a car salesman walking around a brand new 2024 Lincoln. And I spent maybe 2 seconds before I slid past it. I don't want to be sold on social media. And that's generally the consensus nowadays, is that people don't want to feel like a company is trying to do the old fashioned, we've had 3 generations and we have these plaques on the wall and we have this badge of honor. People want to connect with the person building the company 10 times more than they want to connect with the product. And even a couple of years ago, right after the pandemic, there was this real shift of people saying to really focus on the product. And I never felt aligned to that. I want to see people that are more successful than myself and how they made it, the struggles they've gone through. So why wouldn't we do the same thing? And so I do believe that shift is going to become even more so in the next year or so. So the reason why I say that, though, I have a why. Personal branding will transcend any shifts in your business. So, for example, I'm not planning on ever exiting my company at all. But what if I transitioned into a different role and hired somebody else in the future for CEO? Then if I was only relying on business branding, I would not have any platform to stand on myself. So that's why I believe that personal branding is so key. Even 6 months ago, people were still kind of going, do I build a business brand? Do I build a personal one? My answer always has been first personal and work through the lens of your business, though. Everything that you should do and talk about should be within your expertise to support your business. But again, it's going to shift, grow, and evolve.
So this concept of digital real estate is really cool. So just for clarification purposes, what does digital real estate mean?
So a lot of businesses, individuals, solo entrepreneurs have this fear to get started. They don't know where to begin. And I do need to stop and commend you that you are a warrior when it comes to working on your personal brand and your content. So I got to give you a lot of credit for that.
Hey, thank you. I'll take it.
And don't give up. Whatever you do, don't ever give up. You're doing excellent. But and you're a great example. When you started out, you probably sat there for a couple of days going, I don't know where to go with this. But you tried, you tested, you kept going, and you figured out your messaging. That is one of the hardest things for a lot of people to do, is to sit down and be able to craft their message, because they still are forming their company. That's where I always encourage everyone to rely on your expert status within the industry that you are in. I used this example yesterday in a call that I could be a chef and I want to open a restaurant. That doesn't mean I know how to build a business, a personal brand, or anything. I know how to make awesome food. Great. Well, then talk about the food. Start there. Show off the food. Show off your secret recipes, whatever it may be. And I know that's a very silly example, and it's not quite as similar to what we do, but there's the point to it. It's relying on your expert status. And so I believe that networking, anytime you get a chance to do podcasts, be interviewed on podcasts, all of those things give you the opportunity to talk about your business, make it as real as possible to yourself, and really to hone in on your message that you want to present. Even I will tell you, starting the mentorship to partnership program, I had to scale back, and a mutual friend of ours helps sometimes with some of our stuff, with our media. And I consulted with her and I said, listen, I've been doing this a long time. I just need a fresh set of eyes. What do you think? And she gave me just a couple of ideas, and I told her, I'm like, that really helped me. Thank you so much. Sometimes we're really close to it, and maybe you need to consult with someone. Hire somebody else that is a copywriter. Maybe that they might not control your social media, but they can assist you with it. Things like that is great places to go with it.
Yeah, no, it's great. So you mentioned networking, and we went to, before the show, we were talking about Jocelyn's networking event, and living in a small town, sometimes I struggle with finding the right opportunities to go and networking in person versus sitting behind my little square here in my home office. What is your preferred style of networking? Do you kind of do it all in the online space, or you going shaking hands and kissing babies in person, or what's kind of the difference between the two for you?
So to me, I always advise, are you looking for a local audience or an international audience? And a lot of people go, oh, that's a really big difference. Yes, that's my point. You are not limited when it comes to online. It does save time. You're not traveling. And it's also a sorting act. So if I'm going to a networking event in person, I might talk to a plumber, an electrician, the mayor, and local businesses. That's wonderful if that's your target audience for the services you provide. That doesn't fit my needs. I'm looking for people that are maybe locked into corporate America for 15, 20 years, and they realize they're looking for more, that they're not fulfilled by their career, and they have an idea. Or for somebody that's come out of college and they realize, like yourself, I got an education, but I still have missing parts to what I want to do. Great. That's my target. So for me to be able to reach my target, I need to align with the right associations and also the right entrepreneurial groups, because they will also become my PR agents when I am in their space and be able to give me access to their Rolodex as well.
Yeah.
So for me, online is definitely the way to go. I can fit in a certain amount per week, and I have a limit. And I'm able to, if I have a very busy month, I'm very honest and just say, hey, the next couple of weeks are really busy. Can we meet the beginning of April, for example, right now, or whatever it may be, and just be honest with the person. And a lot of times they're busy too. You could limit it to a 15, 20-minute call if you're super busy, and just explain, I really want to meet with you. You've been a priority to me. Can we actually just put away our pens, our paper, and just have coffee for 20 minutes? Even virtually. I do it all the time, and it's great. So networking doesn't have to be stiff. It doesn't have to be pristine. I have made amazing friendships and connections through it. And it's never a lose situation. I'll just put it that way. You always gain from it, no matter what you do.
Yeah. Whether you're just communicating your message, it sounds funny rolling off the tongue now, but it seemed like my first 100 people I was networking with online, they were just like a practice round of, I didn't even know what business I was really in. And I was just explaining it over and over again. I'm like, oh, is this what you do or that?
Yes.
And you're like, Not really. It's actually like this, and it's not only, gaining the connections, but really formulating
Yes.
um, my niche, my ideal client. And what I found that interesting how hard that was for me to pick like an ideal client and a business model and kind of like narrowing my focus. When I was first starting, I felt like I can help anybody anywhere.
That is
And
the
I
number one
wasn't
mistake.
making
Yes.
any money. Yeah.
Yes.
And then I narrowed it down. What who is, maybe you could talk a bit about your ideal client and how does one kind of narrow,
Mhm.
and because there's, I mean, in the online world, like it's just there's so many options and you can target
Mhm.
whoever.
Mhm.
So like maybe how we can narrow this down and find that ideal client.
Sure. That is, like I said, the number one rookie mistake. And everybody is going to make it. You have to kind of almost go through that stage to realize, oh, wait a minute, hold on, I'm going way too broad. But the more you can be specific, the easier you will find that person, which sounds counterintuitive, but it truly is what's going to happen. It's the evolution. And it will happen again, by the way, just so you know, you're going to go through a couple more iterations and narrow it even more, just so you know. There's a misconception that if I miss out on my ideal client because I'm focused on this ideal client, well, hold on here, then it didn't work. That's not true. You have to really think about who are you called to serve. That is a great place to start. And generally speaking, the 10-year younger version of yourself, 20-year younger version of yourself is exactly who your ideal client is. So, for example, I had mentioned that I've been an entrepreneur for 20 years. 90% of what's in our platform is all things every entrepreneur should know as they're starting out. Well, who was an entrepreneur 20 years ago? I'm a pretty good version of an ideal client for myself. So that is a good place to start. For example, you mentioned Jocelyn. She's the one that works with us building out some of our media. And when she was building it out, when she says, who's your ideal client? I said, speak to yourself. You are a great representation of my ideal client. I want it to speak to the outcome of a dream life that somebody would want as an entrepreneur, the flexibility, the freedom, the buying back time. So there's thinking about your ideal client and also what's their motives and also what are their stresses that you can solve. So if you
Mhm.
have those three pieces, and again, test it out and keep testing and refining, but those three pieces are really going to lead you to talking to an audience of one. And the illustration I always give is if you walk into a crowded room, say it's a business event, and there's somebody way off in the corner and you want to talk to them, do you jump on your chair and start yelling at them? It's not going to work. It's ridiculous. Like everybody will stop and look at you and think, okay, we don't want to network with that guy. Instead, you make the time to walk over to the person, shake their hand, say, I've been waiting to meet you. Can we have a conversation? And it's one-on-one. Same thing with our ideal client. There are more choices now than ever and a lot of distractions online. So that's why marketing, branding, all these things are so critical and they will become even more so in the future. So that's why we have to work at them. But our ideal client, if you need a great quick way to start the direction, think about the things you would have wanted to know within your industry and you'll be able to really kind of niche down from there.
Yeah. Serving yourself in a sense,
Mhm.
a version of you in the past, the problems and the stressors that you've been able to overcome, you're putting them into
Mhm.
like a package as an expert now. It seems like in mentorship to partnership, that's been really the experience. What are some of the, like going forward, like future business plans?
Mhm.
Is, do you want to grow your company to a certain number of employees, a certain number of people, a certain number of clients? What's kind of like your vision going forward for your business?
Sure. So I've already been very strategic. For example, I am intentionally not a coach within the program. I am visible within our membership, which offers additional coaching. The key is the word partnership within the program. The 6 month time period can extend through coaching to 12 months with our coaches. But our ultimate goal is to find only about 10 to 20 people a year that will become in a franchise kind of situation. It's not a true franchise where it'd be a partnership where they would work with us continually and then receive coaching from myself and my partner, my business partner as well for an additional year. And then we're invested in their company. And the benefit to it is they have access to all of our personal resources. So they can work with all of our companies that we have vetted, we have partnerships with. They also have us to work with them through the sales process and to be able to help them through the whole process of gaining clients and then to grow their business as well within the Grit and King, our parent company. So that is one of the things that we are doing in order to be able to really scale as quick as possible. The other thing we are doing for mentorship to partnership students is within the membership, they will be able to access exclusive retreats that are business focused, that are going to be available first and foremost only for the students within the program. So those are two of the things that we're doing within the program. Like I said, started out saying though that I'm not a coach within the program, and there's a reason for it. One, I can thank my business partner. He sat me down, and one of those hard conversations we had to have, he's like, you cannot be the one that does sales and you cannot coach. And at first I was like, but because that's my wheelhouse. And he's like, you can't do it. So I am, if you think about the overseer of an assembly line, I am firmly planted in that role of architect or overseer, whatever you want to call it. And I'm the one that can watch the whole conveyor belt of the entire 6 month process for each student as they go through, because it's an entire system. Once the conveyor belt is turned on, the student keeps going. And we did this intentionally, that there's somebody that's the first point of contact that meets with them, make sure if they have any questions. All the way through the program, they work with the coaches. This is set up this way because I am not then in the day-to-day. So that's one thing that I encourage all entrepreneurs, especially if you're going to be in that CEO role, in order to do it to scale, you have to be able to duplicate yourself. We've all heard that. Well, a great way to do it is not to get entrenched in the truly into your program. You have to stay above so you can see the problems as they arise and fix them, and also scale new things. So that is really our big vision. Our next evolution, or what we would open up next, will be a program for kids, where two things. I do believe I'm of course mom of one teenager and about to be a second teenager, and my middle son opened his very first business at the age of 12. I think all kids should open businesses way earlier and experience entrepreneurialism as a teenager. I think it's a great responsibility for them. It teaches them a responsibility of money and also gives them something that's their own. It's a wonderful thing. My son was so proud when he went shopping by himself and got whatever he wanted. And I love that. Again, it was nothing serious, but it was to teach him the value of hard work and whatever he wanted to do. And I supported it. I think all kids should go through that. So we want to open a division to support that and to take that a step further. There's some amazing ideas out there from kids. I don't know if you saw this a couple months ago, but there was a kid, and it was a science project that he figured out how to make a soap that cures skin cancer. I want kids supported. Yes, it was incredible. Or, you hear of these projects where kids in other countries build things that support their village. I want to be able to support those kids. I want to be able to offer them a program that will be able to help them scale without having to build everything, because they're not in that position. We are. We've done it many times. So we can offer a package to those kids and say, we've got the business end. We have the right Rolodex in order to support them when it comes to the legal side and the R&D side. But what we'll do is we'll build the business. We'll help them with their branding. We'll help them with their visibility, and we'll support them. I believe there's a lot of kids out there that have amazing ideas. They just don't have the network. And a lot of kids are told no way too early in life. So we want to get to them hopefully a little bit earlier and support them. So that's That's one of my goals. For me personally, I am a public speaker. And so my ultimate why, the reason why I do this is my why, my calling is to support other single moms becoming entrepreneurs and kids, of course. So I have that need to speak to other single moms to help them realize that entrepreneurialism is possible as a single parent. And so I've got a lot of public speaking coming up. And so that's where I really want to spend my time. And that's why building a company is such a beautiful gift all in itself. And yes, it's very hard work, but I love the fact that through our digital real estate and our authority building, we're able then to go out there and talk to that person, even if it's just one, that we're supposed to impact ourselves.
Yeah. Wow. I couldn't agree more that, I mean, kids being involved in the problems, the amount of growth, creativity, curiosity and stuff would only help supercharge to solve a lot of these different problems, and
Yes.
Using it in a beneficial way. It's I know sometimes it can feel like we're deadbolting kids to a chair to kind of, because this is kind of the best we got from an education route. But like, as you've been an entrepreneur the majority of your life, there's millions of other children who have the same itch to go out there and to solve a problem and kind of have unlimited growth. So that's so cool. Never really thought of it like that.
Mm-hmm.
This last question I have for you is about pricing, charging people money. I worked for my first year, I worked all for free. And the people who did my stuff for free, a lot of them really didn't give a shit. And then when I started charging money, a lot of them started to work hard. I was like, what? And
congratulations for figuring that out. Yes.
Yeah. It's I mean, it had its place, I'm sure, as you know. I mean, I really didn't even know what I was doing, and it allowed me to put together a framework. So now my structure is a lot way smoother and way easier on me. But yeah, I was just like so surprised on like how many people really didn't care, even when it was free and I was doing all this stuff for them. And they're like, yeah. And versus when you got some skin in the game. So how do you go about pricing, and like, what's your philosophy on that?
Well, I'll give you two different examples. Again, I had my first company, and then I decided to close it, retire, and then build this company. And a lot of times, because some of my clients were personal back then, and again, Rich Dad, Poor Dad taught me a very valuable lesson that a lot of young entrepreneurs make, that you end up being an employee of your own business. And that's where I believe that pricing conversation really plays a part. When you have that moment where you have a friend for a client, and I'm not saying it's wrong, it's just a little bit of a different dynamic. Let's be honest with you. I had a client that she came in and she said to me, she says, why are you not charging me the same amount as everybody else? I'm like, well, we're friends. I knew she'd probably end up, paying for a drink later, and then I'd pay for a drink. It's just what you do. She stopped me in my tracks and she goes, don't you dare. And I said, okay. She said, if I went to Nordstrom right now, would I be haggling to pay less? I said, no. She said, people need to go a little ouch. This was her words. And I never stopped and thought about it like that. She said, it's a perception of value. So when people aren't paying you because you think, oh, I need some experience. No, you have expert experience in an industry. That's why you're building a company, right? There is nothing wrong with that, to rely on your expert status. Now, there is wonderful ways to structure it that you both benefit. You're still going to take some risk there. So to answer your question, I believe it takes a lot of research, testing, knowing what everybody else is charging, and also what's missing in the market. So we are a great example of that. if you compare us to the one program that's at a university level that offers entrepreneurialism only in theory, it is going to cost you the amount of 1 year at least. Okay, just comparing their program to ours is what, 50, 60, 70,000. I think it's 60,000 is the average at this moment for 1 year of college. Our program is a fraction of that. You can do it at home. You can also build your company at the same time. So you have to compare, what is your program offering, or your company, what is your offer, and where it compares in the market, and what need is it filling. So we're filling the need of becoming the alternative to college for a homeschool child that already works independently, or somebody that wants to become an entrepreneur younger in life, or somebody that's in college, but they know they want to become an entrepreneur. This is a great program to complete in 6 months. To circle back to your time frame, that's why we did this in 6 months, to be able to see, to make it in a time period where somebody can see if becoming an entrepreneur is correct for them. We did it also because it offers not just coaching, but like I said, the software that you need to support your company, and also all of the resources to get started. So I believe you need to really look at your position in the market before deciding on pricing. A lot of young entrepreneurs go, well, I'd pay $100 an hour. There is absolutely no basis to knowing what number is right. So again, going back to our program, you have to know what profit margins are. You have to know what your overhead is. You need to know what are healthy profit margins for your industry. These are all things that I was never taught 20 years ago. And I really wish somebody would have taught me this when I built my first company. Again, lesson learned, right? But those are all of things that go into that conversation of pricing. So it isn't just as simple as I pick the number 200 or 2,000 or 20,000. It has to be incredibly dedicated. We took weeks with one spreadsheet, making sure that every person that works for our team is accounted for, our overhead, even being able to put money aside separate from overhead was adjusted in those numbers. So it almost becomes like creating an orchestra. You have to balance everything out and really work through all of the numbers. But I guarantee a lot of people are impatient, want to step over that stuff and just kind of, no, I got this. Okay, well, one day when you want investors, or one day when you want to expand and you walk into a bank, guess what? All of these things I just talked about are the things they're going to want to know about. Right. So there's a reason why all of these things should be handled with the respect it deserves, because you deserve to be paid what you need to be paid for your time also. So there's a lot of conversation to that, but it's definitely a subject that I've grown exponentially in 20 years. And I just want to tell anybody that's a younger entrepreneur, give yourself permission to know your value. That's for sure.
Wow. All right, folks. Well, we're going to dive into the last section of the show, some coaching questions to get a little bit of a better idea on Marisa inside her life. So let's go ahead and switch up the layout. You can use these questions to ask your friends, your family, your folks. Next time you're journaling, write these bad boys down. We're going to get Marisa's perspective on it. All right, first question I have for you, Marisa, is what is one way that you can be kinder to yourself?
I have so many. This is something I worked very hard on in the last couple of years. Give yourself permission to heal and then work on it. That is one of the biggest kindnesses that you can show, not just to yourself, but it bleeds over to your dynamic within your family, your friendships, how you build your business. And a lot of times we're unaware of the quality that we need when it comes to healing. But to me, it is one of the kindest things you can do. I am very grateful for the healing process I've gone through myself. For example, I have never been a person to feel like I was angry in life. I'm not an angry person. I really am not. I've never been. And that's not even my go-to default. I get passionate. I don't get mad. But I didn't realize that I had to identify the emotion of resentment towards things that I would have wanted to have happen in life. So once I could identify it, I could let it go. So that is, man, I wish everybody would just be open to healing.
Yeah. What is one thing that you love about yourself?
I thought about this because you had sent me this question ahead of time, and thank you. I want to say thank you, by the way, because that was a great question. Because it's hard because I lead with humility, and I've learned not to as much, believe it or not. But I will tell you, I love the fact that I am a humble person, but I've had to work on balancing that out. And I have a very, very strong, very accurate gut now that I'm healed. Like my intuition, I will bet anybody on my intuition. And if you ask my business partner, life partner right now, he jokingly, he says that he goes, you are never wrong. And I always tell him, I'm not trying to be right. I hope, in fact, at that moment I'm wrong. But generally speaking, my gut serves me incredibly well. And I think everybody should lean in and trust their gut a lot more.
Intuition. Beautiful. What do you want to celebrate at the end of the year?
Oh, man. Achievement. I am never in the negative when it comes to achievement, but I believe we should all stop and celebrate it every year. I love to walk on a beach and pray and meditate. That's something I do to celebrate. And so for myself, if I can accomplish that, we have a retreat scheduled now for the end of every year for mentorship to partnership. And it's going to be through like the day after Christmas through New Year's Day. But then I want to spend those first couple of days in January doing a reset with my family and actually being able to sit on a beach, be still. And one of my goals is to eventually be able to kind of not sneak away completely, but automate everything I'm doing right now. So January's can be very quiet and family focused.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What is your biggest challenge right now?
Time. Always time. I always have to be in more places than one, and I always have to be present for my children, for my partner, for my business partners, for my friends, and spinning all the plates at the same time. And, and it's a challenge I've accepted. In fact, I'll tell you this really quickly, that I, several years ago, realized that we tell ourselves a lie, that we always think as we're building a business, next week won't be as busy. We're all victim to that. I actually had a talk with myself and I said, you need to stop saying that because it's not true. So let's just wipe that conversation out and accept every week is going to be busy because I chose to be busy. I chose the path of entrepreneurialism. So time will always be a challenge, but I'm not butting heads with time anymore.
Good for you.
Mm-hmm.
What is your number one goal?
Oh my goodness. So I believe everybody has a word that they identify with, and I will not pronounce it in Spanish because my Spanish is not up to par. So, but it's the version of female gypsy in Spanish, and it's spelled Gitana. That's my word. And I pride myself on retaining that flexibility and freedom. I've always been very independent. I believe through traveling through other cultures, it gives us an appreciation for life and a respect for others that you do not get when you stay in the city you were born in. And so that's my number one goal, is to be of service always to my calling, to help other single moms, to be able to enjoy my time with my children the way I've always done. That's the reason I'm an entrepreneur personally. And my number one goal is to be present and retain as many memories as possible with my children. They are absolutely the biggest gift of my entire life.
It's beautiful. Well, Marisa, Can't thank you enough for coming on to the show this morning.
Of course.
You're a badass. You're rocking it.
Thank
I'm
you.
really excited to kind of just keep up with what you guys got going on mentorship to partnership, the growth of it, all the other stuff to come. How can folks learn more about you? Where can they come in contact with you?
Sure. If you're interested in the program, a great way to get to know it is this website, mentorshiptopartnership.com. And in fact, I am very proud, and I will shout out yours and my mutual business partner, Jocelyn, who actually built this for us. And it is just, I actually, the first time I saw the video that she created, I actually cried watching it because it was something that's been my passion and vision brought to life. And so I'm very, very proud of what she's built for us. And I just absolutely think her talent just rocks. But this is a great place to start. But the best thing to do, I'm always available, like I said, and I'm big into networking. So LinkedIn is awesome for me. I love LinkedIn. I think LinkedIn is just absolutely amazing. And then I would also go as far as just telling everybody my email address is super easy. It's hello@GritandKing. That's it. Yep.
hello@GritandKing.
There you go.
Email, LinkedIn, website, folks. Check out Marisa. So much to offer, helping entrepreneurs really scale their businesses and teaching us the things that we need to know that formal education unfortunately failed to do. Thanks so much again for coming on to the show.
Anytime.
Wave goodbye, Marisa. We're out of here.
Thank you so much.
You guys all have an incredible day. Cheers, friends. Have a good one. Till next time.